Theodore Tobler was raised in the candy industry. But not even his father, who raised him in his chocolate shop and trained him from a young age, could have predicted that he would fulfill his destiny by developing the most recognizable chocolate brand ever. Theodore Tobler was born in the Swiss town of Bern in the west-central region of the country in 1876. He had a typical childhood, save for one significant distinction: because his father, Johann Jacob Tobler, worked as a chocolatier in the city, he was constantly exposed to chocolate. Even Johann's nieces and nephews would be sent home with chocolate-filled pockets. Additionally, Theodore started to crave sweets at this young age. When he was a youngster, his father finished an apprenticeship in a candy store. And in 1868, after spending years mastering his craft, he established his own business. The stage was set for his own children by this. Although things began modestly, Johann's products became so well liked that manufacturing began to lag. In order to meet the demand, he had to construct a tiny factory. As Johann, sometimes known as Jean, got older, he set up the company so that his 3 children might inherit it. In 1899, John opened the chocolate factory, or Fabrik. And the very next year, he completely left the business. John gave his kids the reins of the company. His daughter showed less interest than his 2 sons, but he could not have anticipated Theodore's level of commitment. Theodore had grown fascinated with the magic candy industry. He saw how his father's confections brought delight to the community and couldn't conceive of anything better than leaving his own imprint on the business. The task of testing and refining chocolate in factories was less crucial back then. The majority of sweets sold on the street were developed and produced by a single chocolate. As a result, recipes were jealously guarded and knowledge passed down from one generation to the next was of utmost importance. Theodore paid close attention as he learned how to run the shop more efficiently than his siblings and how to produce confections. Theodore was eager to launch his own confectionery line. In fact, he constructed his own home close to the facility. But he felt that one thing was still lacking: selling the product. Theodore started experimenting right away over the following few years after receiving his father's Fabrik to chocolate. In order to test new recipes, he collaborated with his cousin Emil Baumann. Baumann, a production manager for the chocolate company, was the wife of Jean Toller's nephew. He was eager to create a new product with Theodore. Baumann brought white nugget from Metz, a city in northeastern France, and that's how it all began. Theodore was moved by the flavor and the crunchy texture and made the decision to use them in his own recipe. When the 2 cousins discovered the ideal ratio of milk chocolate to nugget, which was made of almonds, honey, and sugar, they were experimenting in Toller's kitchen. The 2 worked together to make their masterwork in 1908. A chocolate bar with honey almonds and white nugget. Of course, Toller's milk chocolate was the only product of its kind. The candy's firm nugget texture was surrounded by a layer of chocolate that melted in the mouth. In part 3, when they established a business to sell their new product, Tobler and Baumann knew they had struck gold. Then chose to use Toller's name because he and his father were already well-known chocolates, but then combined it with the Italian term for the sort of nugget they were using, Tyrone, to create Tobler. Tobler became the first Swiss citizen to submit a patent application for the method used to make Toblerone. The patent, which was published in 1908, outlines the fundamental procedure, albeit the business has kept many production methods a secret up to this day. The packaging that is still in use today resembled the original package quite a bit. When it originally appeared, it was promoted as the first patented Swiss milk chocolate. There were many detractors who claimed that the product would be difficult to market, and that it was an unpleasant form to eat. But Theodore Tobler persisted in his support of their concept and saw the opportunity for a commercial success, and he was correct. Toblerone was the only candy bar available, and its fabled triangle shape has a contentious history. Officially, the design was intended to pay respect to Switzerland's Great Matterhorn mountain. These triangles are joined by a lengthy base underneath, which makes it simple to separate them one at a time. Others have asserted that the triangle's history is very different, including Theodore's sons. The confectionery market flourished throughout the war, which lasted from 1914 to 1918, therefore the timing of the Toblerone release couldn't have been better. Chocolate rations were frequently provided to soldiers in Europe as a source of caffeine and sugar for energy. Every British soldier received a King George chocolate tin, and Americans serving on the front lines received 20-pound blocks of chocolate. Although Toblerone wasn't directly given to soldiers, it did assist increase the demand for sweets worldwide. Specifically candy bars, with the aid of their brand new item. Tobler turned his father's candy store into one of the town's largest jobs. Around 2,000 workers were employed at the factory by 1920 to meet demand. The candy was exported to the United States and other countries by Emil Bowman's father, who was in charge of Toblerone's exports. Over 100 million francs were made by Toblerone each year. Today, after accounting for inflation, that would be worth more than $1 billion. By the 1920s, the distinctive flavor and unusual shape of Toblerone had become an addiction throughout Europe and the rest of the world. However, Toblerone was unable to evade the Great Depression, which started in 1929 and saw a 15% decline in global GDP. Construction, agriculture, and heavy industry all took a hit. And because of the ripple effects of chocolate, the cost of raw materials increased, placing the business in dire financial straits. In the 1930s, a board of directors takes Theodore's place. Theodore passed away in 1941 with a fortune. The proprietor of the chocolate company has subsequently changed. After repeatedly keeping the product afloat, it managed to maintain its independence until 1970, when it partnered with the Swiss chocolate company Suchard to establish the Interfood Company. Since then, the product's popularity has skyrocketed, turning it into a global icon. The Toblerone Bern factory served as the backdrop for some of the 1971 motion picture Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Even the long-running sitcom Friends featured a famous scene involving the enormous chocolate bar. Due to its size and comparatively high price, Toblerone have become associated with plane travel in part due to this advertisement. Toblerone bars are typically available in the duty-free areas of airports. The meter-long chocolate bar is the most striking. The product is currently available in 10 different weights and sizes, starting with tiny 200-gram cubes. However, the recipe has not changed. Milk, honey, and almonds are the secret components. More than 10,000 Swiss cows, 23 billion bees, and more than 40,000 almond trees are currently used to produce the milk that goes into Toblerone. The kind of cocoa used, which is imported from Latin America and the Ivory Coast, is a closely kept secret. It is currently the most popular triangle in the world, and it has influenced a wide range of cultural practices. There is a Toblerone building in Belgrade, Serbia, and there was a Toblerone line during World War II, a 10-kilometer stretch of fortifications bordering Switzerland. When Kraft Foods underwent a name change and was acquired by Cadbury for $18 billion in 2010, it helped to consolidate the chocolate business. With a 33% market share, Toblerone is still created in Switzerland, only in Ben's hometown. More than 3 million people will eat Toblerone chocolate bars in 2021. This contributed to its parent company's $31.5 billion net sales. But more than a century after Toblerone's creation, imitations are starting to attack its recognizable shape. The business claimed that Toblerone was no longer distinctive enough to be a registered trademark in 2017. Toller started making some of its chocolate in Bratislava, Slovakia, more than 400 miles away from Ben, for the first time in its history. It must also get rid of all images of Switzerland, including the famous Matterhorn Peak, as well as any references to being a Swiss product. It's unclear how this would affect Toon's brand, but Theodore's chocolate has grown to dominate the world market in its 115 years of existence because of the techniques his father taught him. Theodore seized control of a modest chocolate factory in Switzerland and created the world's most recognizable candy bar. The company has developed a life of its own, yet its trademark ingredients and inventiveness remain. Which of the following facts was your favorite in this video? Let us know in the comments. Also, don't forget to turn on the notification bell and subscribe for more.